Long ball is going to go for a touchdown. The game's over. Webster Slaughter.
Metcalf will go for the score. Unbelievable.
45-40. Run, William, run. He's got blockers in front. 5. Touchdown. Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score.
Sight wants it all on this one for Logan, and he is there.
Jim Brown to the 30. Jim Brown is going to go in for another touchdown.
The Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
It is Baker Mayfield.
I woke up feeling dangerous.
Hello, Cleveland. Welcome to the 1085 Gridiron Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Joki. I am back on this episode. I missed the last one with Jack and Jared Mueller of the OBR, but as always, I got Jack rolling with me today. How you doing today, Jack?
Doing well. Ready to break down this game. It's a big one coming up, and ready for the weekend. Lots of football this weekend. Got to watch my high school go up against one of our podcast comrades, Pete Smith, and his team tonight, so it should be fun to watch.
Yeah, high school football is always fun. I'm headed to the Monsters game tonight. Check out their home opener. Really excited to check out the Q and their renovations. And so I got a busy weekend. I got a wedding tomorrow, Browns game on Sunday. Busy weekend. We're here to break down this game coming up between the Browns and the Seattle Seahawks coming up on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Jack, as we get it, start to break this down. This week we were finally able to see Rashard Higgins, a full participant in practice all week long. Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, Kendall Lamb are all questionable against the Seahawks on Sunday. Unfortunately, Derek Willis tore his ACL in practice yesterday. But if Rashard Higgins is able to go, can you finally see this offense finally starting to put things back together? And because he seems to be Baker's security blanket, and I think that once he is able to return to full strength, that I think we'll start to see the old Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, you took exactly what I was going to say. Like, Higgins is Baker Mayfield's security blanket, and ever since last year at training camp, those two have been automatic. Like, anytime Baker gets the ball to Higgins has seemed to make a play. And that's might be what Baker's been missing. He's been missing his go-to target. Like, he's tried to fill that void with Jarvis Landry and, trying to get the ball to Odell Beckham, and even Callaway last week, and that didn't work out. But, if there's a guy that Baker's been able to lean on since he's taken over as a starting quarterback, it's been Rashard Higgins. And, the Browns have eased him back. There's the theory thrown out there actually by Jared Mueller, that, these guys might be healthy and the Browns just might be doing somewhat of a load management. You've seen that in the NBA the last couple years with some of the star players, resting them up for, the playoffs or for the stretch run to get into the playoffs. And that very may well be what the Browns are doing. It's risky because it's never been done in the NFL before, as far as I know, outside of, towards the end of the season once playoffs are clinched. But if Higgins comes back, I would like to think that the offense will get back on track, but only time will tell. And once we see him on the field, will we truly know if the offense will be back to what we think it should be.
Are you surprised that Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams are still questionable? I'm of the belief that they're ready to go, and I'm just holding them on the sidelines through the bye week just because it makes sense. Why hurry them back, risk getting them injured again? Make sure they're 100% before they return, and just have them continue to get ready to play the Patriots after the bye week.
Yeah, I think much like the Higgins injury, Kitchen said today, Higgins was full participant, he's healthy, but it's unclear if they're going to go. I don't think that Kitchens would throw his guys out there if they weren't 100%. Last week, Higgins was a full participant on Saturday, and people thought, he's going to play Monday night. He didn't, and Kitchen said that Higgins was sore. I truly think that he wants these guys at 100% full strength. Yeah, it would be good for Greedy to get out there and get some on-field work and experience. And, of course, the knock on Denzel Ward has been he can't stay healthy. But I would rather these guys be at full strength, especially for the fact that after the bye week we play, I think, 10 straight games. We need those guys, especially for the stretch run. And if, our secondary has played well without those guys, I expect that trend to continue. What I like to see them out there, of course, but I also want to see them at 100%.
Now, we don't have this isn't injury news, but it is a sad day in the Browns community. On Sunday, during the pregame, it will be Swagger's final performance of him being part of the pregame festivities. He is going to retire after Sunday. He's been the mascot for the last 5 seasons. His son, SJ, is taking over. Jack, with Swagger being one of the longest tenured members of the Cleveland Browns, what are we going to remember best about him?
That he's been one of the what's the word I'm looking for? He's been one of the longest tenured Browns in the last 5 years, along with Joel Bitonio and Christian Kirksey. I mean, the more things have changed, those two and Swagger have been the constants in Berea and for the Browns. And Swagger has become our official team mascot, essentially, outside of Chomps and Brownie the Elf. It's cool seeing him on the shots during the national televised games. Obviously, the fans at the Dog Pound get to see him running out on the field. I remember Rizzo and Hammer used to tell jokes that, Swagger would run out there and then take a dump on the field. And, in some years that was more entertaining than the on-field product. But obviously his son's going to carry on the tradition. Hopefully Swagger enjoys retirement, and hopefully before he gets too old, he gets to see the Browns winning. He's obviously a local dog, so I'm sure his handler and, of course, he'll have his son there. Those two get to experience a winning football team, which he hasn't got to experience quite yet, but he's gotten to taste a little bit of it.
I will thoroughly enjoy when I get to be in attendance when Swagger goes into the Browns Ring of Honor. I'm sure it'll happen at some point, but hopefully his son can live up to what his father's been able to do for the last 5 years, and Swagger, it's his last performance on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to being in attendance for that one, and seeing his son make his debut, and I think it'll be a good day for a couple of very good boys in terms of the dogs. Hopefully, it's a really good day for the dogs that will be playing on the field, and they go up against Seattle, who has played really well through the first few weeks of this NFL season. Russell Wilson is playing like an MVP. He has so far this season 12 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. Jack, as we, over the years, Russell Wilson has taken so many hits, but this guy has not missed a start in his entire career. What makes Russell Wilson, who we saw at Wisconsin, and you really didn't see it too much there, but ever since he joined the Seattle Seahawks, throughout his early career here, he's been absolutely incredible. What makes Russell Wilson so good at what he does, especially being a mobile quarterback in a league where mobile quarterbacks don't really last too long?
I mean, I honestly could see it in Wisconsin. I mean, some people thought it was a fluke just because of the style of offense they ran, and then, there was the baggage on him about his height coming out. I mean, Mel Kiper said, he's not going to be a good quarterback because he's 5'11". But, he has had so many doubters of him. And, he is right there with the great ones where he could take a hit, but he could still throw a beautiful football, accurate football into a tight window and, it's going to get completed somehow. And it amazes me because you said he's taken so many hits. I'm looking at the numbers now. He got sacked at least 30 times in each season, and including last year, we got sacked 51 times. Yeah, he hasn't missed a game. He's completed 64.6% of his passes during this time, including this year. I mean, he's having an unbelievable start. He's completing 73% of his passes. Yeah, he's, a mobile quarterback, although he doesn't run a lot. He runs effectively, though. It's amazing. And it amazes me that, despite putting up incredible numbers year after year, that, when they talk about who's the best quarterback in the game, he never gets enough love. And I think this year he's finally getting it. Like, he's right up there with Christian McCaffrey and Patrick Mahomes in the MVP battle. He hasn't turned the ball over. He's been like that his whole career. He's only thrown 11 interceptions. That's his peak, and that was the last couple seasons. But he takes care of the football. He's an accurate thrower. He knows when to run, despite having a poor offensive line that's gotten better. But, it just amazes me still the lack of respect he doesn't get from his peers and from the media.
Yeah, if it weren't for a really, really dumb play call, he would have 2 Super Bowl rings right now. And, it just goes to show how Pete Carroll has done a fantastic job with him up in Seattle and the type of program that they're able to run up there. But this week he will be dealing with a couple offensive linemen of his that has injuries. Dwayne Brown has a biceps injury. DJ Fluker has a hamstring injury. Brown should play. Obviously, if he's missing those 2 guys, it could impact them. But through the first 5 games, Wilson's only been sacked 13 times. So the O-line up there in Seattle has gotten better. But Wilson's mobility helped solve a lot of those problems. You saw that in the Pittsburgh game a couple of weeks ago. Pittsburgh was getting after him all game long, but Russell Wilson was able to make plays when it mattered. Whenever he breaks the pocket is when he's most dangerous because defenses don't always account for him being a runner, and they should. He does have a trio of offensive weapons. Tyler Lockett has been absolutely phenomenal this season. That throw, the catch that he had last weekend was going to be one of the best ones this year. Rookie DK Metcalf had a long touchdown reception last week as well. He's finally starting to get into the groove of things. Disley, who's kind of come out of nowhere, has played really well in the tight end position. And those 3 so far this season have combined for 908 yards and 9 touchdowns. So when you look at Russell Wilson's weapons, those are 3 guys that the Browns are going to have a really tough time guarding this week.
Yeah, getting back to the offensive line real quick. Dwayne Brown has dealt with the biceps injury the last couple of weeks. He hasn't practiced, but he has played. So clearly, they're proceeding as though he's going to play. I mean, only time will tell on that. Fluker, the hamstring injury flared up last week against the Rams. All Pete Carroll said to the media was that he couldn't practice, so that's obviously something to watch. If he doesn't play, Jamarco Jones, who formerly of Ohio State, had to step in and play right guard, and they said he was playing well, so he's definitely getting some praise up there. But, with the offense, they have done a phenomenal job with these receivers. Lockett, some people just said he would have been a slot receiver, but he's slowly turning into a number 1 receiver. I mean, he already is Seattle's number 1 receiver, and he's playing very well. That catch last week was one of the best ever, in my opinion. They're utilizing Metcalf perfectly. We all know the talker at the combine with his poor shuttle time and everything, that this isn't a guy that's not going to be able to run routes like Odell Beckham, but they're utilizing him perfectly in the vertical attack, and it's paying off. And like you said, Disley has literally come out of nowhere. I mean, I didn't hear about him until this year because they were rotating tight ends like Luke Wilson and Nick Vannett, and I think there's another one I'm trying to think of that's been there. They had Jimmy Graham a couple years ago. I know that, but Disley is slowly becoming one of the top tight ends in the league. And when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson who can run out of the pocket and still make accurate throws, I mean, these receivers can feed off of that instantly and make big plays like they have all year.
Yeah, and they have a good running game to go along with them. Chris Carson has done a good job, but the downside to him, he does have 3 fumbles early on in the season. So if the Browns are able to force a couple turnovers, and they're going to have to, you saw what turnovers did to the Browns last week against San Francisco. So hopefully this week the Browns can force a couple turnovers against the Seahawks. They're probably going to have to force 2 or 3 to win this game, I believe. So they're going to have to take advantage of all those kinds of opportunities. The Seahawks defense, which we'll get into here, is pretty solid, but they're still missing Jaron Reed. It's his final game under suspension. Obviously, Bobby Wagner and Wright are a dominant pair at the linebacking position. They have Jadeveon Clowney. So far this season, he has 9 tackles, 3 quarterback hits, 1 sack, and 1 interception. He returned for a touchdown. They're giving up 270 passing yards per game, which is 26 in the league. They rank in the bottom half in DVOA. So you're going to be able to move the ball against the Seahawks defense, which, it's a long shot from what it used to be with the Legion of Boom. And, as they've gotten older over the years, other guys that have moved on, like Richard Sherman, and the Seahawks defense isn't as strong as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, up front, they're tough. They're top 5 in run defense. So, Nick Chubb's going to have a tough time. But last week, he was able to, crack through on some runs against San Francisco, who also has a top run defense. So, obviously, like the front 7 I just mentioned, they have Clowney. Quentin Jefferson is a guy that's slowly coming on. He's made some big plays, 2 sacks, 7 QB hits so far this year. They have Poona Ford and Al Woods, who are their D tackles. So obviously they're going to be the run stuffers up front. You talked about Wagner and Wright, 2 staples in that Seahawks defense. They're the 2 that have stuck around where everybody else has left. They added Ziggy Ansah during the offseason. He really hasn't come on yet as a pass rusher, much like Clowney. And then their secondary, Michael Kendricks, I'm sorry. Former Brown, was only here for a little bit because of his off the field issues, but he's been great for them as well at linebacker. You did mention their secondary, not a lot of household names. Jamar Taylor, a former Brown, Shaquille Griffin. We all know his story. They have some decent guys in the secondary, but like you said, nothing like the Legion of Boom. So, and while they've given up a lot of yardage, they've only given up 7 passing touchdowns. So, there is going to be opportunities for the Browns to score. It's just a matter of will they be able to capitalize, especially against a tough front 7. So it's going to be a test for the offensive line and a test for Baker to be able to get that ball out quickly.
Yeah, their defense, has changed quite a bit over the years. And this past draft in April, they spent 5 draft picks on players. Left defensive end L.J. Collier, linebackers Cody Barton and Ben Burr-Kirvin, free safeties Marquise Blair and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that other guy's first name, but Amadi, the other free safety. So this defense has definitely taken change over the years, but they still have, like we talked about, Bobby Wagner, who's been there for a long time and is the heart and soul of that defense. And he's the one guy that is going to be the main force behind that Seahawks defense come this Saturday or this Sunday. Obviously, we have to limit turnovers. The guys, Freddie Kitchens, Baker Mayfield, have talked about it all week long. How do you propose the Browns attack the Seahawks defense this Sunday in doing their best to limit turnovers?
It definitely, they're going to have to run the football despite the Seahawks having a tough run defense. I think if they can run that, then you're going to get an honest defense, to a point where they won't blitz as much. Now you're going to have to worry about the middle of the field with Wagner, Wright, and Kendricks because they're all solid in coverage. But if you can get, Beckham or Landry or Higgins or whoever in a one-on-one situation, I feel much better about that. If Baker's going to have to throw the football to move the ball down the field, I would feel good about that. But if they just do some like short passes and get it going, wear the Seahawks defense down to a point where then you could maybe scramble in like a deep throw to Beckham or something to Callaway. Despite everybody being down on Callaway because he dropped the ball, he's still a good weapon to have just because of his deep ability to go down the field because of his speed. So if they could run the football and wear down that Seahawks defense to set up some play action or some potential vertical passing situations, I think that's your best chance to get that Seahawks defense to break, because we're definitely able to bend them, but if you can break them, it'll be the only way I think that the Browns have a chance to win.
What is this defense going to have to do against the Seahawks offense and Russell Wilson? Obviously, you can do your best to try and contain Russell Wilson, but he is going to have his moments on Sunday. It's just who he is. What do the Browns have to do to really limit the damage caused from Russell Wilson?
I definitely think you're going to have to set the edge and be able to pressure him to a point where he's not going to be able to move to the outside and use his mobility. If they can contain the edge up front and be able to shut down running lanes for not only him, but for Carson or even Rashad Penny, if they sprinkle him in, he has not been a good draft pick for them so far. It's pretty disappointing when a 7th-round pick is outperforming a first-round pick, and that's where the case of running backs shouldn't go in the first round. That's prime example there. But if they could set the edge and our defensive front can pressure a good but still not great offensive line and make Wilson uncomfortable and force him into some bad throws, then maybe this defense will have a chance. But you have to hope that Wilson doesn't get time to throw, because while I think our secondaries played well, I would be more comfortable this weekend if Greedy and Ward could play to go up against Metcalf and Lockett, because I think speed-wise, I don't know if Mitchell and Carey and some of the other guys are going to be able to shut those guys down, because they each are different in their abilities, but they can kill you vertically.
Who do you think is the best option? Because sometimes teams like to use a player to spy on Russell Wilson just to keep an eye on him at all times when his running is a threat. Who do you think is the best option for that for the Browns?
Well, I wouldn't put Schobert there just because we need him to focus on Disley and whoever else is coming down the middle of the field. I would put Mac Wilson in that spot as the spy. I know he has struggled somewhat this year, but I know that he's going to be able to break through and be able to make some plays. And while he doesn't have the necessary speed to keep up with Wilson, I do think if you can use him as a spy, that he'll be able to shut him down should Wilson try to take off and run.
Looking at offense, defense, special teams, what is the one X factor that's going to determine the outcome of this game?
I would say it's Chris Carson. I think everybody's going to focus on Wilson and the offensive playmakers, but Carson has been phenomenal since he's become the lead back in Seattle. Yeah, he's had his fumbling issues, but he's a playmaker not only as a runner, but he's been solid as a receiver. He's 15 catches on 17 targets this year. Carson is a guy that Wilson could definitely count on in dump off situations. And of course, as the lead runner, somebody that, Wilson can, rely on to hand the ball off and be able to make some plays in the running game. And, I think it's up to the Browns defense to step up and have a good performance after struggling last week against the 49ers running attack. If they can shut down Carson and make Wilson have to throw the football, 30 to 35 times, I think the Browns defense will ultimately make enough plays to where they can get into a situation to win this game. Because while Wilson's a great quarterback, I don't know if you can rely on him so much to throw that many times, especially against what I still think is a good Browns defense.
All right, Jack, who wins this game to you and why?
While I would love to see the Browns win, and, if they do, I'm going to be a happy man, but I'm actually going to go with the Seahawks on this one. I think they are locked in right now. They are one of the top teams in the NFL. I think defensively, but they will get better. They're going to catch probably some breaks this week against a Browns offense still trying to find their identity, still trying to get everybody synced and on the same page, bringing guys back from injury or suspension. And I ultimately think Russell Wilson's going to give this defense some fits. I think it'll be a close game. I hope our fans come in loud and keep the Browns in this game. I think this is a must-win game because the Browns are already 0-2 at home. It will be a close one, but ultimately I think the Seahawks come out on top. I'm going to go Seahawks 24, Browns 20.
Yeah, I'm with you there on this game. I know we want a win going to the bye week, especially with New England coming up. And I remember we put that poll up about what the Browns' record was going to be heading into the bye week, and I think 0% said that they were going to be 2-4. And I think heading into Sunday, I think that's going to be reality come Sunday afternoon. So I think the Seahawks win this one 27-20. They are like 1.5 point favorites on the road, which is never a good sign for the home team. I just think to echo what you said, Russell Wilson is going to be way too much for this Browns defense, and with the Browns still trying to figure out everything that they got going on with Odell and trying to get Rashard back into the groove of things. Same with Callaway. A few weeks they'll be adding Kareem Hunt into the fold as well. So I just think with all that, this offense still isn't going to be at the level that it was a couple weeks ago when it played Baltimore, and won't be at the level that we know that it can get to. To give you guys an update on our Pick'em Challenge for this year, after last night's game between the Patriots and the New York Giants, the standings right now, Jack has 112 points. I have 106 points. So this is a very tight race. I kind of expect it to be that way throughout the rest of the season. But Jack, give us your lock of the week this week.
I'm going to go Dallas Cowboys over the New York Jets. Even though Sam Darnold is back, he's obviously going to have to get back into a rhythm with his offensive weapons. This is a rebound game for the Cowboys after getting embarrassed by the Packers on national TV last week. Dak Prescott's taking a lot of criticism because he's getting the Kirk Cousins treatment now that he can't win big games. Well, I think he treats this like a big game, and I think he bounces back. I think the offense bounces back and has a big game against the Jets defense that is still missing C.J. Mosley and some of its other key personnel. So Dallas is going to be my lock of the week.
I'll tell you the one I want to take, but I won't because it's way too risky. I want to take the Redskins over Miami, but just a part of me thinks that Miami can pull this one out this weekend. So I am going to go with Baltimore over Cincinnati. That game's in Baltimore, so I think they're going to start to get on a little bit of roll after beating the Patriots in overtime last week. And obviously playing the Bengals is a cure for everything. So I'm going to go with Baltimore as my lock of the week this week.
Good stuff. And quick update. Locked On Seahawks host Corbin. Let me make sure I get the name right. Corbin Smith is reporting that Dwayne Brown and DJ Fluker are both listed as doubtful for Sunday. So that could, change the Browns' fortunes if two of their starting offensive linemen are out. And that I'm sure Russell Wilson is praying to God that those guys are going to be able to play on Sunday.
Yeah. Hopefully those guys don't play. You never want root for injuries, but if they're not playing on Sunday, that'll definitely help out the Browns. All right, Jack, did I forget anything before we get on out of here? No? All good?
We're good to go, man.
All right. If you haven't listened to our interview with Jared Mueller of the OBR, be sure to go and check that out. You can find that over on our Twitter page at 1085gridiron. Be sure to follow Jack on Twitter at JMcCurryCLE. Be sure to follow me at Anthony Jokey, JokiI. We'll be back on Sunday with a post-game edition episode of the podcast. Hopefully we're doing another victory pod. We both don't think we're going to get there, but the Browns might surprise us and win this game on Sunday. Most importantly, go Browns.